In this video, we react to Secret Invasion Episode 6. Welcome back to Eat, Sleep, Nerd. In this video, we are reacting to Episode 6, but also the entire series as a whole of Marvel's Secret Invasion over on Disney+. I am your dorky DJ, Corey Winter, and joining me, as always, are my geeky friends, Christian James and Jason Summer.
I'm not here.
Oh, we got Nick Fury down there, the old school version.
I'm actually contacting you from the Sword space station.
Ooh, fancy.
Right.
I'm actually very envious right now. Did you just have that eye patch laying around? Or?
No.
Okay.
So I had to go on a covert mission to the local Walgreens, and I found
Walgreens
an eye patch
Why?
But
near the eyeglasses.
I've also heard they have eye patches in crypts and tombs and whatnot.
Eye patches that what?
From the last episode.
Oh, the strips?
The mausoleum that Nick Fury went to in the last episode, where he keeps all of his stuff.
No.
It was a reference.
That was compromised.
Yeah,
That safe location was distributed by Disney Plus without my authorization.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody knew where that was.
Makes
So I had to go covert. And I walked in with a left eye shut. Pretending, well, or was I,
Wow.
that the eye was injured.
I was not
so that no one
expecting
would
all
be
of this.
suspicious.
It's a secret.
Also, what'd you do with Josh, Mr. Nick Fury?
Oh, Josh is on assignment.
Oh, okay, good.
He is undercover as an electronics expert at a local box store, and he is understandably there's some high-ranking political officials that are in the market for high-end TVs and speakers, and we knew he'd be our man for the job.
That sounds about right.
Well, yeah, that sounds good. So before we just let that go on way too long, let's get into
Can't make any promises.
Let's get into this show. So we have seen all 6 episodes. We just finished watching episode 6. It has just dropped. So we have some thoughts about this show.
We do.
And since Josh is not here, he actually sent me through everything he wants us to read verbatim. He actually wants me to read word for word what he sent me for his notes. So he has some thoughts. But let's just get into it. So what we're going to do is talk about this 6th episode by itself, but then also just how it ties into the entire series. So there will be some spoilers, but we'll save those for a second. Before we do that, let's just talk about this episode in general, how we thought about it, feelings, thoughts, takeaways. No spoilers yet.
It was an episode.
Oh,
I'll say that. Yes. As a finale, it was an episode. I don't have much to say about it.
Oh, that's not a good sign.
It did not dramatically change my opinion about the entire series.
Okay.
Lots of we'll say constructive criticisms afoot.
Well, I'm just going to say one word, and we'll
Okay.
all know what this means.
Okay.
Magical.
Oh. For all of our longtime listeners, that is a reference all the way back to the Halo series that you could catch on Paramount Plus? Paramount Plus?
Paramount.
What is it? Yeah, I think Paramount. Yeah, Paramount.
We reviewed, that was like one of the first things we reviewed on this show a year and a half ago. And there was just a plot line in that show that we just hated every time it came up. So that's a strong word choice.
Well,
Jason.
what it was, we were hoping is that the plot line or that thread would pay off at some point.
It just
never did.
pointless. It was
So-
pointless.
Yeah.
Magical. Code word, magical.
Well, I'll say, I thought this episode had a really strong start. Like the first half of it was really solid because I liked what it was setting. Like Nick Fury came out literally, well, not literally swinging, but figuratively swinging, and I liked the suspense it was setting up with him coming into the conflict that we will talk about in a second. So I liked the setup of it, but yeah, it did not have the best payoff towards the end. So was not a huge fan of what this kind of meant for wrapping up this show and where it's leading, but overall I still enjoyed it. So
it was kind of the kind of payoff where like you're short like 2 cents and the cashier's like, you're good.
Right.
And they
Yeah.
definitely saved their entire budget for this episode, which made it feel kind of lopsided. Like there was a lot of effort put into this last episode with the fight scenes and stuff,
Yeah.
which made the first 5 episodes in retrospect feel kind of lightweight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As many would probably say is the MCU formula is to have that kind of finale.
Josh actually mentioned that in his notes.
As we'll mention later.
Yeah. So, you want to guys just get into it, talk some spoilies?
Yeah,
Yes.
let's do it.
All right. Spoiler warning. We're going to be talking about details, specific plot details of this episode and the entire show as a whole. So if you have not seen it yet, make sure you go watch that before watching the rest of the video. But also, you got to come back. You got to come back. You got to see what we got to say.
We could also say this information.
Our opinions matter.
Yes.
This information is confidential and classified.
For people that have seen the show, yes.
That's correct.
So let's get into it. Honestly, I don't have a lot of big notes, like talking points of this, but just the general synopsis of this episode. Nick Fury became Nick Fury again, essentially. He has the eye patch back. He has the overcoat. He has his purple beanie, which did not really go with his ensemble, but whatever. I liked it. He came out swinging literally with some shooting of peoples, and that led to him having a little face-off, so we think, with Garrick. And all the while we had the B plot of Gravik, sorry. Then we had the B plot where What's Her Face has called Rhodey to say that Nick Fury's on the way to take out the president or whatever. So lots of things going on this episode, but we found out not all was what it seemed. It was actually not Nick Fury. It was Gaia throwing the punches.
Right.
So lots of threads were being closed, but also still a lot of unanswered questions. So the very first thing I want to talk about was the twist of the Nick Fury not actually being Nick Fury, but it was actually Gaia. So twist? I've had some criticisms about Gaia and how she just kind of felt like a pointless character. Do we think that was kind of redeemed in this episode? She actually was the person that took out what's his face?
It didn't seem as satisfying,
right?
Like I mentioned before in other episodes, like they kind of wrote her into being just sad and not like vengeful.
Yeah,
and so that would have meant a little bit more, because I know she started out the whole scene with, "Hey, you killed my mom, my father, and I'm gonna kill you." That'd have been a lot cooler if she was like gun ho about it in past episodes.
Mm-hmm.
You know. And I mean, it was cool. I love the anime type stuff that was going on
with the fighting.
Pretty neat. Yeah.
The
fighting itself.
I liked how they kept changing their arms and stuff into the various MCU characters. We saw Groot, we saw Drax, we saw rock guy from Thor. I forget his name.
I had it in my head.
Oh, what is his name? This Meek, and I'm
Korg.
Thank you.
Korg.
Very good.
Korg.
Yes, Korg. And then we also saw Captain Marvel powers show up. So lots of cool little tie-ins there, which I enjoyed, because as we found out, she really did give the DNA to Gravik, but come to find out, because she actually was a Skrull, she was in the machine with him, she got the superpowers as well, which I thought was a cool twist. I liked it. I liked the payoff of that little twist.
Oh yeah, the twist was twisty. It did its twist.
Like I knew something was amiss, because obviously we saw Nick Fury dealing with the radiation. I'm just like, there's no way he's actually exposing himself to that much radiation. Something has to be up here.
That's what I was questioning too. Is like, is the machine powered by radiation?
Probably.
Because I feel like, yeah, if it was actually him, would he have died or would he gain powers?
Yeah.
So that's one question I had.
What about you, Nick Fury?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was wondering. I would say that's probably the one plot twist I didn't see coming. Was that Gaia was actually pretending to be Nick Fury.
Was it on your left? That's why you didn't see it.
On your left.
But so I was actually wondering how that machine, when Gravik turned it on, would affect Nick Fury. Because I was like, okay, so this is how they're going to heal him from the radiation poisoning, and we're going to get him, to continue.
Oh.
So I was like, okay, but surely it's not going to be the same effects. And then it changed into Gaia, and I'm like, oh, that makes way more sense. and it would make more sense that Nick Fury would want to be the one that spearheads the operation to actually save the president.
Yeah,
that makes sense to me.
So with that was one of Josh's notes was about the Gaia Fury swap. He said, and he wants me to read it verbatim.
Okay.
He actually wants me to do word for word to make sure I get the entire message.
Okay.
He said the Gaia Fury swap felt a little cheap, and it makes you look back on the anyone could be a Skrull stuff, and you realize it was basically just Rhodey, never really capitalized on the premise all that much. So he was not a huge fan of the Gaia twist, but I don't know. I liked it.
It was serviceable, is the way I would say it.
Yeah.
It like when it happened, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
It made sense within that universe.
Yeah. And since we're talking about the little moments, Christian, you had the same thought as I did. Like right before I said it, you said it. The acting that what's his face was doing when he was yelling at Fury.
What's his last name? Kingsley Ben-Adir.
Yeah, the guy that plays Gravik.
Okay.
He was like yelling like for a good minute long straight at just Fury. And I was like, that's really good acting.
Oh yeah,
like he was getting into it.
Probably the
Like,
only
he
real
must
good
come
acting in
from
the
the
entire
stage.
series thus far.
Ooh.
Oh,
it wasn't that bad. I felt like,
I mean,
for
you
example,
never-
like Emilia Clarke, she felt flat the entire season.
Yeah.
Like
I can see that.
her voice wavered from time to time, and to indicate that she was a little sad or a little angry or a little fine. But I think I was expecting more from her because she was like, I remember her in Solo. I loved her character.
Yeah.
Probably one of the better parts of the movie. But I don't know what happened here.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen this kind of story happen before. Like, runaway child, they try to reconnect with parents, and something goes wrong, and they feel betrayed. They run away. They team up with the bad guy. The bad guy betrays them, and then there's some kind of like actions that happen for them to come back and be the one to kill the bad guy. But like, yeah, it just didn't happen.
Yeah, and although that's a tried and true storyline,
yeah,
I mean, everybody can hit anybody in the feels with that story if it's executed right, and it just wasn't executed right. Again, there was no anger, there was no revenge, like you were mentioning earlier. There's no revenge in her voice. There's nothing. There's no angst about really her father dying. There was no sense that she wanted revenge. She was just kind of whatever. It sucks.
But you got me now. Now I'm gonna try to kill you.
Right. So that I think that was probably the most unbelievable part of the series.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, speaking of unbelievable things, let's talk about the other plot that little twist led us into was Nick Fury showing up at the hospital,
right?
As Rhodey, or fake Rhodey, was trying to take the president away to a secure location. So I liked that Fury actually did show up there to take out Rhodey. And so let's just talk about the whole Rhodey thing. I think that's the other big takeaway from this episode.
Right, that's a huge takeaway.
Yeah.
Yeah. What were you? I'm sorry. Go ahead. I've been talking.
Oh no. You talk because I. Go ahead.
No.
Go
okay.
ahead.
So first of all, Don Cheadle did a wonderful job of making me hate Rhodey by the end of this.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like I meant I think he meant not like the Rhodey character. What had Rhodey had become? Whatever the Skrull version of Rhodey. That's what I mean. Like he was so smarmy and arrogant and just pedantic. I was just like, he needs to go. So I'm kind of glad Nick Fury finally got to take him out.
Yeah, along with that, like seeing some of the things on the internet, of course, it's always the internet.
Right.
That when it was revealed that he was like a female Skrull, the people were like, oh, he has such like feminine energy and this and that. You can tell when he says this or when he does this. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
No.
Like, what does that even mean?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I never once thought that.
Like, yeah, of course, what he was saying, what he was doing is out of character. But I was like, where's the feminine energy that you're talking about?
No. The only hint that I ever felt that the Skrull that was parading around as Rhodey was female was when they showed us that she was female.
Yeah.
That was it. That's all. That was it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome.
Right.
So let's talk about the ramifications of this and how far back we think this actually goes, because it was not confirmed. It did not actually straight up tell us how long he's been a Skrull. So if you paid close enough attention, when they rescued Rhodey, he was wearing the gown, right? When they went at the end of the episode, Guy was taking all the people out of the human pod machines that they've been hooked up to. He was wearing the hospital gown, as you'll see here in the backdrops here. This is actually a screen grab from Captain America's Civil War when he was injured during the big fight scene between the two halves, the Captain America team and the Iron Man team. So this was the only time we've ever seen Rhodey in a hospital gown.
Yeah.
So has he been a Skrull all the way since Civil War?
I think so.
That makes me think like you could either go two ways. Either it was for Malice to get behind the scenes from the Skrulls. They were feeling some type of way all the way back then, or it was an order from Nick Fury.
Interesting.
Because he had, as Gravik told him in this episode, it's like the guy that he became as a human, Nick or Fury told him to kill him, and he was giving out orders left and right, but like left them behind. So it's like, I wonder if Fury was just like, we got a man down, but we got to see if we can get him back into the story. Like that's the story, but like into the fight for more. So they swapped them.
That's a good point.
That's a good point.
But at the same time, Nick Fury also didn't realize how many Skrulls there were on the Earth.
True.
So it's equally possible that they've been doing this. Gravik's been doing the covert ops for quite some time. I mean,
yeah. Now the ramifications of this, if this is true that he has been a Skrull and under lock and key since Civil War, let's think about his appearances. We know we saw him in obviously Infinity War and Endgame. We saw him in Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
So if that's true, he was a Skrull. The Rhodey that we saw was a Skrull in Endgame. That would mean Rhodey does not know that Iron Man is dead. He is not actually aware that his friend died.
Yeah, Corey put that into my head, and I was like, bro, that is so sad.
Wow.
Because we went years without Iron Man.
Yeah. And so that's actually bringing up one of Josh's other notes. He said to him, most egregiously, we skimmed over the quote-unquote human elements. We never really got a Fury's back moment, and based on his wardrobe, there's a good chance Rhodey has been a Skrull since Civil War. Yep. Maybe it'll be touched on in Armor Wars, but we could have taken a second to address that the world is radically different now since the last time Rhodey saw it. His best friend is dead. I'd understand if the episode was pressed for time, but it was literally the shortest of the season.
Yeah, I do agree with 35 minutes.
Yeah, so I do agree with that. Like, I mean, this was a huge revelation that Rhodey has been a Skrull this entire time. Well, I mean, I guess we knew that already, but we don't know how far back it goes. Right. This was the first time we're seeing actual Rhodey show back up. It would have been nice if we kind of like touched on that a little bit more. Like, actually got to see him communicate with Fury directly to like touch base and stuff.
Or even like have some kind of like from the president when he's back in the United States and he's talking to all of his heads of state, and which is like, how long has it been since he's been this way?
Yeah,
at least some like a scene like that. That'd have been like, or putting that little Easter egg out there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It had interesting. The entire series was like this. It had interesting concepts. It had interesting ideas. But none of them either came to fruition, or the fruit that it did come to was really just kind of bland and not very juicy.
Not very juicy.
Not very juicy.
Any other word.
less juice from these fruits.
Yes, just no juice on the fruit. On the fruit.
So you are touching on just the series as a whole. So with that, those two big things out of the way, really the only other thing was that Nick met back up with his wife and they left on Sword.
Up to Sword.
So yeah, it really just ends with Nick Fury leaving on the spaceship, which we assume is what he's on when we see him again in the Marvels later this year. Did we feel like that was an okay ending for this?
Well, there's
I
one
mean,
more ending. There's one
Oh.
more. There's one more ramification, which
Oh,
is
yeah?
the president has declared war on all Skrulls.
yeah, that's no
That is
big
kind of a big deal.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
And
Yeah, I
Nick
mean,
Fury is
we-
like, "This is not what I intended, you dumb person."
So
Yes.
the last thing the president said on the phone with Fury, he was like, "Go leave this planet" or something like that.
Leave my planet.
Yeah, leave my planet. And Nick Fury kind of like had a shook face when he heard that. Are we thinking Fury kind of maybe thinks the president's a Skrull now? Because that's the feeling I got. Like I kind of got the feeling that Fury doesn't really think that's the president.
Interesting. I don't know. It's not something that I considered.
Huh.
Which,
And also-
if he's not, that would again make an easy way for General Thunderbolt.
Yeah.
General Ross.
Yeah.
Ross. Jeez.
Ross.
Ross
Harrison
to,
Ford.
to become president.
Yes, and we know that's happening. I mean, if the strikes don't delay it,
Right.
it's happening next year. We're seeing this movie next year with a new president and the Captain America characters. So I would assume Rhodey's going to show up in there. I don't know if it's been confirmed if Rhodey's showing up or not, but it would make sense if he does because he is like a government official.
Real quick,
Uh,
has any other actor played a president in two different franchises? Other than
It depends. Are we considering Gary Oldman?
that's what did he play with president in?
Well,
Besides,
it was
and,
he was Truman in Oppenheimer, and he
Oppenheimer,
also
right.
played Churchill in.
no, I'm saying president.
I know he was. I don't know. Not that I can think
Because
of.
Harrison Ford, of course, Air Force One, and now the Thunderbolts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Interesting. Anyway, just a thought.
Well, yeah, there was another thing that I thought about when the president's address
Yeah.
about Skrulls. Who else is on Earth?
Who?
Asgardians.
This is true.
Oh, that's right.
So are we going to see some kind of like militias show up to New Asgard? And are they all impervious to Earth weapons?
These are the questions.
These are the questions.
You know,
I
and
doubt we ever
speaking
see
of all
really
that,
come
this
out, but
this show, I would say, is also an indictment of society as a whole right now.
Oh, for sure.
Like there is the way that just regular human beings are portrayed in this series is not in a good light as a whole.
I mean, yeah, when they were showing those hit squads at
Yeah.
the end, like it was showing people just take out other people because they thought they were Skrulls because they were misled to think they were.
Right.
Like they bought into the conspiracy theory, and so now they're just going out killing everybody.
Right.
That does touch home pretty realistically.
Yeah, and it's not the first time that they did this in the series. They've mentioned they mentioned how like the Skrulls have mentioned how humans pretty much are taking themselves out and they're just expediting the process.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you know, there's definitely some sort of thing that's being said about humans in general.
That's been happening a lot in some medias.
Some medias.
Just calling that out. Like, oh, well, we know. It's fine.
So yeah, those were all my big points. Anything else before we just talk about the entire series as a whole, which we've obviously been touching on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I got it out there.
I mean, it was all right. I mean, I guess there are certain things that had to happen for us to get to the other movies. But at the same time, I mean, people have asked me, would I recommend watching it? And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
It's all right. But, you know.
Yeah.
It's like it's 6 episodes as well. It's like, what do you think you can get out of 6 episodes?
Yeah, so let's use that as a segue into just talking about this entire series. So, bringing it back to what Josh was saying, you know,
We miss you, Josh, by the way. I hope you're safe and keeping your cover.
So he I think it was last episode, he was like, after these 6 episodes, are we going to think this was still going to be a good 6-episode series, or should it have been a movie? I kind of originally said that I like that it's, you know, a 6-episode series, has time to like breathe. It doesn't have to be rushed. But now I'm kind of feeling it probably could have been better as a 2.5-hour movie.
Agreed.
2-hour movie.
Agreed.
Yeah. Yeah, you'd believe that it would like breathe well, but then like it breathed and then moved on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, we're just not gonna go back to that, or just like embellish on any of kind of the stories that we need to. So yeah, I'd ultimately say that like as a movie, it probably would have hit a little bit better.
Yeah.
We probably would have got those emotions out of Gaia.
Yeah.
And I like the idea that Nick Fury has a life outside his work, that he has someone that loves and cares for him and that he loves and cares for. I like that idea, but it was absolutely pointless in this episode, in this series.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, especially
I
the
wanted
end,
it to mean something. Like, I'm totally down with it. I'm
Yeah.
totally fine with it. It was wasted space almost.
Yeah.
I mean, so there's, I mean, for 6
we went
episodes, you had so much more that
we
you could
went
have
from
done.
like a
Yeah.
couple of episodes ago where we're like they did the shootout and they were like, well, this is the end, and then he comes back around and like, are you sure? And she's like, yeah. He comes back around, you sure?
Yeah.
They're like, all right, I'm leaving this time. You sure? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it ends with them together, and I'm like, I'm exhausted.
They have a complicated relationship, okay?
I mean,
it's complicated
not.
enough that she was a Skrull. You don't need to
Yeah.
add human crap to it. But
so I will say,
whatevs.
So I will say, just some highlights of the show for me. Overall, I liked it. I was not. I almost said I was not let down. I kind of was let down,
It's
even though
okay,
this
you can say
was
it.
definitely my type of show. I do like the thriller espionage aspect of, of stuff, but
Mhm.
this it had so much promise. It had potential, but you know what they say about potential? It means you haven't done anything yet.
Yeah.
So this one didn't really do much. It had some cool moments. I liked the roadie implications that it had. I don't think it really had the best payoff in that aspect, but I do like the idea of it. I like that we finally got a lot of screen time from Nick Fury. I think, they could have done more with him as a character for this series that was about him, but I think what we did get from him, I really liked. I liked that it was a Nick Fury centric show or a Nick Fury centric storyline. The standout for me was Ben Mendelsohn playing Talos. He was fantastic. You can't say enough about his acting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I liked. I liked the espionage aspect of it. It just they didn't do enough with it. I'm just sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like they thought of the espionage like product, and they were like, hey, we have to fit Skrulls in this somehow, and then they were like, that works. And I'm like, it doesn't really work because with the whole storyline with the Skrulls, they could have done a lot more or a lot different, and I don't know which one I'd prefer. Like just like because the way they hyped it up months before, I was like, cool, I am down to watch this show for what they showed us. But like Corey said, like a little let down on that aspect because it was just like it was so expected to just be the jam of the summer.
It had so much promise. I mean, some of your favorite characters could have been who they were promised out to be all these years, and we finally get this spy of all spies doing his stuff over the span of 6 episodes. We get, it had so much cool promise. It just didn't do much with it.
Yeah, they had a lot of story to get through in this show.
I got a sense that Marvel and Disney didn't really know how to handle Nick Fury after watching Captain Marvel. And the movie was great all the way up until he got his eye scratched by the Flerken. And that's how he ended up with his eye patch.
The dumbest.
It was, and I'm like, and that's like, I lost whatever like badassery that went along with Nick Fury, portrayed by Samuel L. Jackson. That it took a big hit with that for me. Yeah. Like that was like the beginning of stuff like from Thor: Love and Thunder, where they take important things or things that kind of have some some weight to them and just make them a joke.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and this I think is kind of the culmination of that kind of thinking. Like they just didn't know how to handle Nick Fury. And I think they handled him mostly wrong in this series.
Yeah, like you said, Jason, like finding out that how he, you know, has the eye patch, it kind of put in perspective on like who he really was.
Yeah.
He was the Charlie to the Angels, basically.
Right.
And yeah, he might have been a great spy or was a great spy, blah blah blah, but he turned into just the guy that was just like, hey, y'all go over there. And it's like, where did all that go?
Yeah.
And I figured that this show would show us some of that, understandingly that he had been in space for a long time, so he's aged a little bit, blah blah. But if you really think about like the science of space compared to being on Earth, he shouldn't have been so crippled. You know what I'm saying?
Can I put science to this? All right.
Yeah,
It was an alien spaceship, but okay.
I mean, there's a lot of science in Marvel. But you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But anyway, I've said my words.
Okay.
All right. Well, then let's score it. So, after the first 5 episodes, we were sitting at a 4.13 across the board. So Josh had been giving it a 4, Jason a 3.5. I was giving it a 5. I was loving it. And Christian was at a 4. So after the entire series, we have seen all of it. Let's update our score. So as a reminder, we're not doing this episodically. We're scoring as just a whole one complete thing. So we've just been updating our scores this entire time. After every episode, we change our scores. So we have the entire picture now. How do we feel about it? Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Yeah.
All right. So this is not an indictment of the characters or the actors because I love the characters. And for the most part, I thought the actors were great. I've already mentioned the ones I didn't feel did great jobs. So,
yeah. There was some really strong acting.
There was some, yeah. Like you were saying, was it not? God, what is his name again?
Mendelsohn.
Thank you, Ben Mendelsohn. Samuel L. Jackson brought his A game. I mentioned
Olivia Colman.
Huh?
Yeah. Olivia Colman.
Yeah, exactly. Even, I mean, Don Cheadle. I mean, I'm not saying that in a surprise way. Just going back, Don Cheadle also did a great job. Now, so what this is an indictment of is the story and how they treated the characters. And overall, I'm going to give it a 2.75.
Woof. That is a drop.
Yeah.
All right.
I was hoping. That's why I kept it high, but they failed.
I'll go ahead and read Josh's. He has a couple more notes in here I've not read yet. So he started off by saying, it did exactly what She-Hulk made fun of. It threw out all of the development and uniqueness that made it sort of cool just for a CGI throwdown. #irony. He predicts that we'll never see Gaia again, and or they'll have a throwaway line about she's no longer basically a god, quote unquote. There turns out the effects were temporary or something like that. And then he finished up by saying, I really wanted it to end on a high note. I even said in my last review that I was stoked, but it's like they reached the end and decided to just follow the Marvel formula, just like Moon Knight did. He gave it 3 pointlessly dead Agent Hills out of 5.
Oh, man. I like that, though.
So that was a 1-point drop for him. Christian?
Man. I usually never feel the same sentiment as Josh, but I kind of do.
You're allowed to. Just saying. It's okay if you do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because he's usually right.
No, he does not need that. He already gets that enough.
Say, the big CG fight at the end, yeah, it's a Marvel trope. It happens. But the way they did it, made it it held on for me for a little bit, just the way they shot it, all the things that were happening and blah blah, and it was just long enough not to be annoying. It could have gone on like another minute or like even like 30 seconds, and I'm like, all right, we get it, it's fine. But I've been sitting at a 4 for a very long time. I was waiting to see where it went. I didn't want to do this,
Just do it, man.
but it's right there in the middle. 3.5.
Oh, that was not.
No,
that
3
was-
out of 5. That's what I meant.
Oh,
Okay.
3.5.
okay, that's cool. And then I kind of already said my general overview. Had so much promise. There were a lot of things I did like about it. The acting, I liked overall the Nick Fury character. I do agree with you, Jason. It was kind of mishandled. I did not have a problem with the big CGI throwdown at the end because I didn't really see it coming in the way that it came. I did not see the twist coming, so I did enjoy that. It did have the thriller espionage twist that I was wanting that I didn't really think they could pull off. So I did enjoy that twist at the end. I liked the idea of the whole Rhodey as a Skrull thing. I just don't think it played out as much as I wanted it to, and I don't. Kind of going along with Josh, I don't like that they just kind of, oh yeah, he's back, and we don't get to catch up with him at all.
Right. There's no resolution on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it could have been kind of the opposite of what I've been feeling this entire time, was that I enjoyed how stretched out it was. I actually don't feel that anymore, having seen where it led. I think it could have been so much better if it was a 2-hour movie and actually, I don't know. It just, I wanted to like it, and I was liking it. But I think so much of it was just the promise of what it could be.
Yeah.
So, I'm not going to go all the way down to it as low as you guys, because overall I still had a good time. But I'm going to go with a 3.5
Okay.
out of 5.
And what's that average?
So, man, that might be the lowest we have given a show in a while. All told, averaging all 4 of those scores together. So Josh had a 3, Jason had a 2.75, myself at a 3.5, and Christian at a 3. That puts us at a 3.06. So
Wow.
basically a 3 out of 5.
Yeah. I also think that's pretty accurate, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So looking back, Willow was actually a 2 out of 5. The Peripheral was a 2.5. But as for shows that we saw all the way, like those 2 shows we actually just stopped watching.
Right.
The only show we've gotten lower for that we actually watched all of was She-Hulk at a 2.92. So this is actually the second lowest we've ever gone, having watched the entire show.
I wish I could have been there for She-Hulk.
No, you don't. So that wraps us up for Marvel's Secret Invasion. We have stuck with it. At times, really, really enjoyed it. And at times, we did not so much. Man, it could have been so much better. This was one of those shows we were hyping up for months and months leading up to, because we were like, oh man,
we were really
getting back
excited for it.
into the feel of Winter Soldier. Yes. Let's
Right?
bring that back.
Yeah.
It just never really hit. So what a bummer. What a bummer to end on. I hate it.
Oh,
I hate that we're
well.
ending like this.
Yeah, well.
Moving on to
But
the next.
We'll move on.
We're moving on. So that wraps us up for this day of reaction video series for Marvel's Secret Invasion. We still have our Star Trek Strange New World Season 2 reaction videos coming out I guess maybe not every Friday. We took a week off apparently last week, but we're back to it. Tomorrow, we'll be reviewing 3 episodes because we've missed a couple apparently. There was a surprise drop that we didn't know
we didn't
about.
know about that.
So be sure to tune into our Star Trek Tacular, if that's what we're calling it, where we review and react to Star Trek Strange New World Season 2 episodes 6, 7, and 8. So be sure to tune into our YouTube channel to catch that.
Actually, my informants did advise me that they were dropping it at the CDCC for that Saturday, but I could not let you know, otherwise my cover would be long. So we had to take a hit on that.
Character. Jason, thank you for showing up in spirit. I appreciate this. I wish I had had a costume for this.
You know, it was just it was a last minute.
it.
I'm like, oh hey, I have a leather jacket. Oh hey, I can just grab an eye patch from Walgreens. Okay, we're done. That was pretty much it.
Yeah, I have a jacket in my closet, and I was like, it's way too hot to step outside with a jacket like that.
Well, that's why you bring it with you.
Yeah, you don't have to wear it here.
But
I mean,
was like,
I'm not
think
wearing
about
this
wearing
outside right now. I'm almost too hot as it is.
I'm more method, I guess.
All right, thank you for tuning in. Make sure before you leave, you click that subscribe button, click that like button, leave some comments if you have some thoughts to go along with ours. And until next time, make sure you keep nerding out. Bye.